Right, we're back on the 67 Hail Hail channel on YouTube. Please don't forget to subscribe if you've not already done it. I am Hamish Carton. We've got Celtic legend Jackie McNamara here. John McGinley. You're not a Celtic legend, John. Well, maybe some people would say you're a Celtic legend. I don't know. And we're going to chat a wee bit about youth players and opportunities for youth players at Celtic. I've been meaning to do a solo video on this for ages, so thankfully after this one I'll no longer have to do that. So thanks very much, guys. We're going to talk a wee bit mainly about Stephen Welsh, who came into the first team kind of by necessity. The Rangers game, wasn't it? That was a big one he came in for. What is he, 20 years old, John? He seems, it's quite a kind of, he's not a 16 or 17-year-old coming in, chucked into that kind of game. Jackie, what did you make of the overall, what did we see? I think we saw a couple of games from Stephen Welsh, didn't we? Probably positives there and stuff he has to work on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great experience for him, but it is, it's a tough time to come in, and I think that can be the issue with Neil, giving youth a chance, because he needs everybody ready, and he can't afford to drop points, but you've got to have 100% trust in the kids that he's putting in, that they're going to handle the occasion. It wasn't like a normal Rangers game where the crowd's there and it's just, it must be a strange feeling going into it, and playing in it. I don't think he's done bad in any means. A couple of times at possession in the Milan game, but it's a great learning one. You're playing against good opposition where that'll only improve him. But 20, said I don't see that as really young anymore. 20.
Mm-hmm. When did you make your debut?
I was 18. Dunfermline. So I moved to Celtic at 21, but I'd played nearly 100 games first in the Dunfermline, and it was a lot tougher in terms of getting opportunities, because which was good back then. We had reserves, so if Dunfermline were playing Celtic's first team at East End Park, the reserves were playing at the same time at Celtic Park against the ones that were maybe not fit or coming back. So you're playing against senior players at an early age. From 16 I was playing 17 in the reserves. It was a fantastic experience. You don't have that now, but it was a great way for me in learning, playing against men. Was now you're kind of, they're thrown into it and at the deep end without having that experience. So a lot of them, why they go out on loan, they put kids out on loan now to get that experience lower league to see if they can handle it.
It's difficult because for me, some of the young players are caught in limbo at the moment, just with everything that's going on with COVID as well. Obviously, there is no reserve league anyway, but there's just not as many bounce games or friendlies with teams from other academies, just because of the logistics of it with testing, etc. So you've got all these young players who are training every day with the first team now. I don't think they're even training separately. And Lennon's taken the decision to send some of them out on loan. Scott Robertson went away down to Gillingham. In League One, you've got Afolabi's at Dundee in the Championship, and Leo Connors at Tranmere Rovers, I think. So Lennon's taken a decision on some of them, but he's kept some of them around. So you've got players like Karamoko Dembele, Luca Connell, who are kind of caught in limbo a little bit between not getting any game time at all, but just being a little bit short of what's needed for the first team. It's a little bit of a concern for me because you want them to have a route to the first team. I feel like the route's kind of dried up over the last 5 years, and I'd like to see some of these players more. But I think you're spot on, Jackie. I think when it's such an important season and we're fighting for trophies, it's really difficult to bring in a player like Dembele or Connell who have less than 10 games total in their career.
Yeah, it's a shame because you're looking for that route for them, and the development isn't very important to get that. And I think that's why a majority of them are out on loan. Sometimes they can be too good to put out on loan just now because they're around the first team, like Welsh, around the first team, but not a regular. So, and Karamoko, we've seen the last couple of years, we've not seen him for a long time. Is he ready, or could he handle going into certain games? But again, there's one you're looking at. Was he going to go out on loan this year to get him some game time? Kerr McInroy went out to play at Dunfermline in Championship, which will help him as well. So, but again, he's not a young boy. He's 20-year-old now. So at what age, getting that opportunity. There's such demands on the team to win every game, and it can be a lot to put that kind of pressure on the young players at an early age.
Jackie, what age did you sign Andy Robertson from Queen's Park at? How old was he when you signed him at United?
19.
19. And so what are you looking for when you know a player's ready for the first team? What traits do you see in a young player? Is it purely on talent, or is it to do with their attitude and maturity as well?
No, I mean, I came up against Andy Robertson when I was manager at Partick Thistle before I went to United. We played them in the League Cup, and he was just a wee skinny left back. But his desire, I just instantly took to him. A lot of stuff there I thought I had as a young fullback. He was getting forward, and there was obviously a lot of growth to do. And I took him up to United. We knew that full time would help him, sports science and stuff we had up there. And I was never, when he first came in, I was like, we need to see, we might have to get another left back in to see. We took another one in pre-season. We played him in Germany, and he was outstanding. I was like, he's ready. He just knew he could handle it, his mentality. And, sometimes you get lucky with young players like that, their desire, and he just went up and up and up, which, to be fair, I thought he would do that. But he was playing week in, week out in League Two. Although it's the bottom league, he's playing against men, he's learning, he's getting stronger. And I think, obviously, we did look at the Colts thing as well. We tried to get the Colts teams in the lower leagues, which I do see it as a positive, for Celtic, but I think it would help the other clubs as well, definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at. I mean, Andy Robertson, obviously, you signed him for Dundee United. I could be speaking out of turn here, but I doubt Celtic would have gone and signed a Queen's Park player. I can't remember us doing that for anyone really other than Tony Watts, the obvious one that we signed for Airdrie a few years ago. We don't often do that. It's usually players who are in our academies from, much earlier than 18 or 19. And Andy
released for Celtic.
He was, he was. So it's even more kind of better.
But as you said, you don't know. You never know. It's easy to say, there. I mean, there's the ratio for making it is very, very slim. Even they get to next bit 18 and playing the first team, but then you go and put somebody in front of 60,000 people at 19, 20, 21. How can they handle that? If they make a mistake, how do you handle the fallout from that? There's so many things to be a player, and the chances are small. But he obviously went up and up and up and handled it. But you don't know until you put them out there. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, Robertson wasn't the only young one you had at United. You had Ryan Gold, who was 17, something like that, when he was playing. How did you feel as a manager throwing in like a school kid, basically, when you're needing points?
Yeah, actually, you forget. I mean, I played with Goldie and John Suter in the semi-final against Celtic at Hampden, and it was a good game when he was there. We were very unlucky. We didn't defend the crosses at Cutland, but even at half time, and I seen with Goldie, we won 1 at half time, I think, and he put it back in for Mackay Stephen to finish. And they were showing in the dressing room, it showed you it again. I said, I thought you were winning yourself, wee man. And he said, I seen Ambrose take a step that way towards me, so I knew if I put it to him, he wouldn't get it. But I knew you couldn't get back to GMS to stop him scoring. I was just like, But I mean, that wee boy he was lovely, a great talent. He was 17-year-old, but his football head, his football brain was incredible. Nothing of him. But I just love watching him train. I love watching him playing. And when he's in your team, you're like, got to find that. Just talking about Roger there. He's 5'6", 5'7". Nothing of him, but he's 2 steps ahead in his head. Where he puts the pass out, and it's surprised for me he's not kicked on more. When I went to Portugal, I thought that would have been the making of him. Got opportunity and strived on, but. He was 17 and John Suter was 16. So the two of them had a little spell that they were tired. And I said, look, to their parents, that, and you forget because they're 16, 17. I'm going, what's I doing at 16, 17? semi-finals of the Cup against Celtic, you're forgetting. So I sent him on a week's break, to recuperate. I spoke to both their parents, and I got slaughtered for it. United fans slaughtered me. We get beat up at Ross County, and I could hear them all shouting, "You go on holiday, McNamara." You're so and so, and I was just like, and we got beaten again. I was coming back in the team bus, and I was pretty low, as you'd imagine. And then, so I phoned the two of them, and they were in Tenerife, and I was like, "How you doing, boys?" "Aye, all right, Gaffer. Just been to the water park." So I started laughing. I'm going, it hit home to me, and going, they're just wee boys, they're young boys, but I'm asking them to go and perform at the top level and semi-finals and handle it, and it was quite a funny moment.
I played against Ryan Gold once when I was 13 or 14. I played against Dundee United, and I think...
Did you mark him out of the game, Hamish?
Well, I was playing directly against him. I played right back, and he was playing left mid. And I remember Dundee United were up 3-0, and he came off, and the game went to 3-all, and they could bring him back on for whatever reason, and they won 7-3. He's the best player I ever played against. Just so quick, with the way he played, and he must have been 14 or something at that stage. Bringing it back to Celtic, John, there's a lot made about our kind of development and James Forrest and Callum McGregor and all those players, but if you look over the last 4 or 5 years, it's only really Mikey Johnson, isn't it, that's come into the team and properly made a claim, and even then he's not really featured much over the last year or so.
Yeah, I mean, he's been injured, and I think Lennon does like Johnston. He talks about him a lot, even though he has been out. He talks about him coming back as well. I think Lennon was frustrated with the way that he picked up his injury that led to it. I think Johnson kind of stayed on the pitch for 5 or 10 minutes after he actually picked up a knock and did more damage to himself, and I remember Lennon was unhappy with him. But apart from that, Lennon's showed a willingness to play him, and he's been one of the ones that has bridged the gap between the academy to the first team. The worry for me now is, though, that it's a change in landscape in European football, and clubs like Bayern Munich and Manchester City are now looking at teams like Celtic and their academies and basically signing these kids up when 15 or 16. Liam Morrison went over there, defender, and you don't know whether they're going to come of anything. Like Jackie says, it's really hard to figure out whether they're actually going to be going right to the top. But it's concerning for me that we are now, some of our talents are getting poached. Just a question for Jackie, is there anything Celtic can do to guard against that? Should Celtic be doing more to protect their academy talents from these big teams? Or when someone like Bayern Munich comes in, is it just going to be stars in their eyes and they're away regardless?
It's a difficult one because, you have the guys at the academy that develop and bring them on, but obviously they need to see a pathway as well. I think that's why they're obviously looking at the Colts, because, they'll look at it. If you take, for example, Hickey was at Celtic before they went to Hearts. I mean, Hickey would not be where he is just now because he would not have had the opportunity at Celtic, to go and play. I remember he came up against, it was Karamoko actually in the game, and he was, after 60 minutes, he was knackered, he had to come off, and he played in the cup final against us as well. Did okay and tired in the cup final, but he was 16 at the time, and he's played all the other games there and made his wee mistakes and different things, but you wouldn't get away with that at times at Celtic, and that's the difference. You get more chance of learning and developing, and it's trying to find a way that you can play your own kids, because you think there, Hickey's now 17, 18, he's away abroad now, but Welsh is 20. 3 years, you think what you could learn if you're playing week in, week out. I think Welsh went on loan last year actually to Morton, if I'm right.
Yeah.
But it's finding there and getting them games, and that's where you learn. You said about Welsh learning there, but these other kids will go right, jump away, and it's maybe a lot easier for these guys to come in and try and move them at 15, 16 away from Celtic and say, well, look at Karamoko, he was meant to be the best thing ever in the last number of years to come through, but he's not had an opportunity. So as you said, what stopped his? I know he's picked a couple of injuries, but what stopped his progression? And that's the difficulty. It's finding that chance that you can get to play them and give them the opportunity, make them mistakes. You know, because there's not, as you said, there's no reserves, but the reserves are different anyway. You know, the reserves, a lot of the kids don't want to play reserve football like used to because it's not the same. They go and win 5 or 6-0. There's no challenge. They want to play against men. They want to have crowds there. They want to have pressure. And I think it's trying to get that, how Celtic can get that without putting them away out on loan to other teams to develop, and that's what's happening.
Yeah, if you look at kind of a couple of the real success stories in the first team at the moment, Christopher Ayer went on loan to Kilmarnock. That was a decent level he played at on loan. Callum McGregor's the other one that went to Notts County, and again kind of similar level and did really well. So, I mean, Ryan Christie as well, but I suppose he was kind of more developed when we signed him. But I've got a wee list here just to finish the video of players who've made their debut under both Rodgers and Lennon. So Lennon, the three have been Scott Robertson, Karamoko Dembele and Stephen Welsh. And in terms of Rodgers, you've got Calvin Miller, Anthony Ralston, Ewan Henderson, Mikey Johnson and Jack Aitchison. So only, as I say, Mikey Johnson's made any sort of breakthrough there. Is there an argument, Jackie, that maybe these players just aren't good enough, like they're maybe just not of the talent we've produced over the years?
Yeah, well, as I said, there's always that as well, that they've not, although they've not made it here at Celtic to find their level. I mean, Ralston out and he played some big games before, and you expect him to step up. He went on loan to Dundee United as well, didn't he? For one reason or another, they've not hit the heights that you would hope or expect, or handle the demands at Celtic. But not everyone is going to do that. It's going to be that special one that can do that. It's just finding the right solution. But you don't. The last thing we want is all the top young players leaving the club before they get a chance. And that's as you said earlier, John. That's what you're seeing just now, Bayern Munich, because it doesn't cost much to go and poach a young kid at 15, 16-year-old to take him away over to Germany. Whereas in a few years that could be a few million. So it's a few £100,000. It's not a big gamble for young players now, and I think they also have clubs that feeder clubs. Man City have feeder clubs, around the world. They can send players out to. Sometimes that can be a big attraction for players as well. Maybe not make it there, but they'll go play in another country, get an opportunity.
Definitely. Liam Morrison and Barry Hepburn's the other one who's out at Bayern Munich at the moment. So great stuff, Jackie. John, thanks very much. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll speak to you later on in the week.